Hi, I'm Janelle Doyle. I went to Incarnation 1st to 8th grade, graduated in '82. These are my sisters. We are the daughters of Rosemary Doyle.
Hi, I'm Rose Doyle and I graduated in '81 and I went from 1st to 8th grade at Incarnation.
I'm Kathleen Doyle, graduated in '79, also went to Incarnation 1st through 8th. I remember my mom every Christmas Eve when we were little. We would go to dinner and then we'd go to Mass and we'd come home and she'd be home for a little bit and then she would have to go back for midnight Mass. While we're in bed, she would have Mrs. Rue, the neighbor, bring over all of the presents because back then they didn't wrap any presents, so it would just be the toys under the tree. And then when my mom got home from midnight Mass, we weren't asleep, so we were up and opening up presents at 1, 2 in the morning. And that was kind of a family tradition in the Doyle house.
I remember on Sundays we'd be up in the loft with Mom, and she would be sitting on the pews. And I remember, for me, when I was a kid, I would kind of mimic Father and have his hands up, and I would kind of be repeating what he would say. But it was great because we used to let our friends come up with us every once in a while, and we'd run behind the pipes, and she'd always tell us to sit down. And I don't remember if she tapped or if she would, sit down, but when she did that, you better sit down real quick.
Yeah, we used to sit in the pews up in the choir loft, and every now and again we'd get silly because we were far enough away from the rest of the church Mass going on. And my mom would just have to look over at us and give us that stern look, and we'd be quiet.
Was it that she tapped she tapped on the music or something on the piano? Was that she tapped with something?
Organ.
Yeah, it was something like that because I remember that.
Well, she was a teacher.
I remember when I was planning my wedding and going through the music up in that organ loft, she was very strict with her music, and she had control over what she would approve of and what she wouldn't, because Father gave her that type of control to make sure that it was honorable to be able to play that. So that was kind of neat to see that she knew her stuff, and it was nice going through that stuff with Mom. It was something different.
A special moment.
Yeah.
She was like that at my wedding. Even though she didn't play, she helped pick out the music. And if it would be something I wanted to have in the wedding, she didn't want it. We didn't do it. So she, even with me, her own daughter, she controlled the shots and she kept it, strictly by the book, and classical and really church music. I mean, nothing bebopping or this new pop music.
And also Mom was very strict because it was the house of God, and that she would want it to be more religious and respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Mom would, when we were up in the loft for Mass, she would go down to receive the Eucharist and walk all the way down, receive the Eucharist, and walk all the way back. And you could always tell when she was getting close to getting up to the organ because you could hear her shoes. She wore flat shoes with just a little bit of heel, so you could hear her click, 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 click all the way through the church.
So Father always had to kind of prolong it until he saw her, but everybody else until we heard her stop.
My mom used to have us on holidays help her do the programs for church, so she'd line us up in the dining room and start doing the program, folding them, stuffing them, stapling them. So she had all these kids to do that, and then later on we'd have to go with her to church to drop it all off and get it organized for the next day.
And it was kind of scary going in the church at night when, it was all dark, and she would go, turn on the lights for the loft area, and just, there's a couple different rooms up there that are just storage areas for books and music, and it was kind of creepy. And then walking through the church when it's dark, except for they had a couple little lights on the side, and then going back and sacristy. Yeah, I should know that. That was kind of creepy too.
Yeah.
I remember times when my mom would tell me some people were struggling, or when she would play the organ for their family for free, whether it was a wedding or a funeral, or just give her time more than anything, rather than getting paid for her
Services. She would also take a check and then not cash it.
Yeah. And you guys found that out?
When we went through her stuff after she passed away.
Yeah, we came across several checks that were many, many years old.
Yeah.
Mom had a big heart. She was very caring person, and even though she was a single mom raising 6 children pretty much on her own, she would do church masses and funerals and weddings for free. She worked 3 jobs to put all of us through incarnation, 1st grade through 8th grade, and then if we wanted to go to a private school for high school, we all paid our own way. Mom had a hard life. Her mother passed away when she was a young gal, and her dad, back in those days, he didn't know how to raise 2 daughters, so he put both my mom and her sister Margaret Ann into a boarding school, and then from there they went into the nunnery, and they both became nuns. And that they had gone from Arizona to, Arizona to Oklahoma, and they were both nuns there. And then my mom left the convent to take care of her dad, who was dying.
Back to Tucson, and then Aunt Margaret Ann married Uncle John, and they moved to Minnesota, and then Mom came up with them from Tucson to Minnesota, and then she met Dad, and they got married at Incarnation. Long time ago.
Yeah.
My mom used to work 3 jobs, and one of them 3 was working part-time at St. John's. She'd do choir there and fill in for other reasons. But I remember the story my mom told me. She went from Incarnation to St. John's. She was going fast, got pulled over by a cop, and the cop escorted her because he understood her situation, escorted her to church. And she didn't get a ticket. So I thought that was the coolest thing.
Mom was the organist at Incarnation Church for about 40 years. Between that and her other jobs as a single parent, it was starting to get a little tough when her health started to deteriorate. And she was very much a perfectionist, and she got really upset when she would make mistakes. She would practice and practice and practice all the time. Mom would practice all the time, morning, noon, and night, and so we grew up listening to it, and we got to know the songs. And she occasionally, when someone wanted a new song that she wasn't too familiar with, like "Tears from Heaven" from Eric Clapton, she would ask one of us kids if we knew the song, and if we did, then she would want us to listen to her and help her with the timing, and you know, get her familiarized with how it goes. And if we had it on CD, not CD back then, but tape or the album, you know, we'd play it for her so she could see what the timing was.